Bill Maher unloads on Newsom, demands to know why he didn't cut red tape when we were not on fire. Great question, Bill Maher. I definitely understand the sentiment because it doesn't make any sense. Like I keep saying time and time again, Democrats are going to regulate us into oblivion. Regulation, regulation, regulation. More red tape, more red tape, more red tape until you can't do anything. You can't even collect rainwater, in some of these liberal places. You can't even build a shed without taking a year of approval. Bill Maher talked about it before on the show before how he went to build a shed or something. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a shed. And he said it took them 2 years to finally approve it just to build a little shack, a little shed. It's just ridiculous. You can't even build on your own land without government approval, and then it takes forever for them to approve it. How long do you think it's going to take for them to rebuild LA from these fires? It'll take them forever because of the red tape, and they do this on purpose. They build this bureaucracy so they can milk more and more money out of people, more and more tax dollars out of people. And that's what this is really all about. And now people are suffering for it, and they're finally waking up to the overregulation that I've been talking about, and Trump been talking about for years. That's why Trump have came out and made it where every I think every new regulation that the bureaucracy wanted to put out there, they had to get rid of other regulations, two or three other regulations, which I think was a wonderful, wonderful rule. Trump talks about bringing that back, but even more having to regulate and cut like five different regulations per every new regulation that the bureaucracy decides to come up with, which I think is a wonderful, wonderful thing. We need less regulation, and that will create more innovation, and people are able to build things and create things, which I think is a great thing. But we're going to get Bill Maher's take on it. We'll play the clip, but before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from the Daily Wire. Gosh, I think this is like my second story from Daily Wire today. But they report that comedian and HBO host Bill Maher laid into Governor Gavin Newsom during a recent TMZ interview, arguing that if California leadership could cut through oppressive regulations and red tape, they should have done so before the southern part of the state had burned to the ground. Amen to that. Maher argued that it wasn't really a left or right issue, but one of accountability, telling TMZ host Harvey Levin and Charles Le Boudoir, or however you pronounce his name, that he had previous run-ins with California extensive building regulations when he tried to install a shed. Yeah, like I was talking about, because I heard him talk about this shed before on his own show, Real Time with Bill Maher. That's why I remember him talking about this, and some solar panels on his own property. So we're gonna play the clip, which I think is a wonderful story. I mean, no, everyone believes in regulation until the regulation goes against you, right? Until the state comes in and tell you you can't do what you want to do on your own property. Well, let's play this clip. Here we go.
Karen Bass is taking a lot of heat. So is Gavin Newsom. But there's going to be a recall on Karen Bass. We will see what happens. But a lot of people think she failed in terms of leadership and, where budget cuts may have affected the fire department. And there are other people who are saying, how dare you even talk about that in the middle of the fire? So where do you stand?
Well, we all took a lot of heat. Uh, I'm with the people who want to hold politicians accountable. This we shouldn't talk about it now. It's so funny to hear that coming out of the mouths of liberals because they hate it when conservatives say that after a gun tragedy.
And I played this clip earlier, but he's going to continue on. I think throughout this clip, so I'm gonna let it play, even though I played this small portion right here earlier. But I'm gonna let him cook.
Which is what conservatives always say after a mass shooting. This is not the time to politicize it, and then it never is. It is absolutely the time to talk about it. This is what my editorial is about Friday night on the show. Um, Was it always going to be bad? Of course. Their arguments are not wrong. We built the city in a terrible place to build a city. Global warming absolutely does make hot stuff and weather worse. Um, Winds were ridiculous. Yeah, I get all that. And they also made a lot of errors. And if you held Bush accountable for Katrina and thought Rudy Giuliani was an idiot for putting the command center in the World Trade Center, which is the place they attacked for and were most likely to attack again, which he was, well, then you have to have some intellectual honesty and criticize your team when they don't do it right. And they've had a long time to get this righter. It was always going to be bad. All of these were always going to be bad, and they always seem to be the worst they ever possibly could be. So, no, I think we should demand better.
You know, I watch your show every
Every
Friday
day.
night when you're on, and
Right,
I
Philip
followed
complained.
your journey trying to get the necessary permits to take down a shed in your
Yeah.
backyard over a period of, I believe, more than a year. And
No, it's what I had to build. I was trying to
building
get
the
She had
shed,
the solar. This is for
I
your
was
solar.
the
building-
panels,
solar,
right?
the solar.
Yeah.
trying to get the solar hooked up, which, by the way, is what the state wants you to do.
If it took you a year and going on television every week shaming the state to
Right.
build a shed for solar,
Just to get solar panels.
when you look at the red tape with the Coastal Commission, with building and safety, with all of the rigmarole you have to go through to build a house, and especially after hillsides may be compromised and whatnot, and you look at the scope of this, how optimistic are you that that could change enough so that LA can rebuild?
It won't
I
change.
always think there's a middle of the road, actual practical solution to everything. And for this, I would say, um, was California's uber progressive politics the cause of this fire? Of course
Yes.
not.
Yes.
Um, did it?
Absolutely. It's the reason why it's so bad. I mean, you can't keep caping for these people. Sooner or later, you got to admit the truth. Their terrible policies is the reason why the fire was so bad. They might not have prevented it, but they could have stopped it from being as bad as it was.
Did it impede them to some degree? Absolutely. That's the margin of error I'm saying we can't abide by anymore.
Right.
Now, as far as the red tape, I see that they're all, Newsom, Bass, they're all saying, we're going to cut red tape, as if they're doing us a favor. My question is, well, if you can do it now, why don't you always do it?
Right.
Obviously, it can be done. It's not a favor to us to cut the red tape. Why do we live in this state, in this red tape nightmare, the other times of the year when we're not on fire?
I explain that because the bureaucracy, they love the bureaucracy. It's about power and control. They want to control every aspect of your life. That's what this is about. Newsom announced that he would slash red tape for residents who chose to rebuild in the aftermath of the devastating fires, and also promised to prosecute any developers who attempted to sweep in and buy up the land. Toward that end, the Democrat governor signed an executive order on Tuesday, quote, barring opportunists and predatory investors from making unsolicited, undervalued offers to families impacted by the firestorms to buy their land, taking advantage by offering fast cash for destroying property. Whatever that means, that's a vague statement. I mean, who's to say that they're underbidding or what have you? I mean, I don't undervaluing properties like that's a very slippery slope. I don't know how they can go in and say, "Hey, you intentionally being predatory by offering this person X amount of dollars." I don't know how that's really going to work, but this is all on Californians because they the ones that voted for these progressive policies. Maher gave them a little bit of cover, but I'm not giving them no cover. This is all there. They built this bureaucracy, this red tape state, and it's going to take them forever to rebuild LA, I believe. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.